Hello, one and all, to Creative Spark, my interview show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they do. And with me today is the woman with the longest link tree in existence, Diana of the Road. Hello.
Hi. I've done a lot of things and I've got sentimental value attached to every single one of those links. So,
I don't think you can. I feel like attaching sentimental value to your link tree means it's going to become like a whole linked forest at some
oh,
point.
100%. If there's ever a link wildfire, I'm gonna lose so much.
Maybe you could do like link wildfire prevention. I don't know how that would work. We've
I
taken
just
this
need to,
analogy too far.
honestly.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. Just woke up. It's 1 o'clock p.m. my time, so that should not have happened. But regardless, we're here. We're vibing. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. As someone with two kids, you should
Yeah.
sleep till 1 o'clock as often as you can, because at
I'm
some
gonna
point
treasure
life
these
takes that
moments.
away from you. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, start where I always start with these things. What made you want to start doing like video creation?
Oh man, it's gonna sound like a really conceited answer, but you know when TikTok really so for those not aware, I started on TikTok originally and kind of just like oozed into everything else after a while. Back during the pandemic, I had like I don't know, I was scrolling through TikTok mindlessly inside as everyone was, and I kept seeing all these meme formats and things like that. And I was like, I have a way better idea for this joke. And I was too shy to actually film it for a while, so I just held on to them and made, like, a list of, like, "This is what I could do better."
Mm.
And then eventually one day, all of my roommates this was back in college, so I lived with, like, 5 people, were out of the house, and I was finally like, "You know what? Maybe I'll just film one just to see where it goes." And, it got, like, 13,000 views, which is wild for a first ever TikTok,
Yeah.
and so after a while, I got a little bit more confident, leaned away from audio templates and started just talking to a camera and
Mm.
doing little skits. And then I drifted into D&D stuff and D&D advice, which is kind of what I do now is talking about Dungeons and Dragons and miscellaneous other things that start with the word D or the letter D.
Just anything.
Anything. I try and describe myself as a variety content creator because at this point I've done so much stuff outside of D&D, but it's just I'm known for D&D, so here I am.
I think you are a fairly effective variety content creator, which isn't an easy thing to do. How do you feel about like the general advice of you have to pick a niche to succeed as a content creator?
It's unfortunately you don't have to. It helps a lot for some things and it hurts for others. Like if we so one of the things that I do is I do social media platform consulting. So not like consulting with companies to tell them what to put on their social medias,
Mm.
but like more like talking to Twitch and,
Right.
Moonbeam
Okay.
and YouTube and things like that and telling them what creators want out of the platform. So I do a lot of just kind of like passive analytical looking at how people's channels can succeed and what the platform needs to do to make them succeed. And very often I find that problem where, especially on TikTok, you kind of have to do something and do it over and over again.
Mm.
So that way the algorithm picks up on the same visual artifacts and pushes it to the same people who liked your first post if you're doing like a series about something or another. So it helps a lot to get started that way.
Mm.
But over time, on a personal level as a content creator, I really don't recommend people do that because like I'm struggling so hard to not go into like a tangent here, but it's a very quick path to burnout. If I were to make D&D content and D&D content only for the rest of existence, I'd run out of ideas. I would start to loathe the game, and
Mm.
so I just post whatever comes to mind. And it's almost never good, but it's fun. And that's the only thing keeping me that's what keeps me going, keeps me from burning out. So
Do you is it literally just what comes to mind, or do you do a bit of research before each video, or like how do you go about planning stuff?
it depends on the video. I did a little series a little while ago that was me talking about fun animal facts because
Hmm.
little known fact, I was a zoology major back in college. So I have a 4-year degree on wildlife and nature and things like that.
Very cool.
And yeah, it was super fun. And so I came out of college with all these really fun facts about animals and then a bunch of other non-fun facts, like really horrific things about animals, where I was like, wow, they didn't teach us this in those pop-up school, books in elementary school. And so I tried to do a little series of like, hey, here's this really messed up fact about animals. And so I had to do a little bit of research for that. But beyond that, it mostly just comes off the dome, a lot of just sometimes low effort posts. And social media at the end of the day, it's you throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks. So
Very, very fair. Are you happy with the path that your channel is going down, or your output is going down? It's not just the YouTube, obviously, it's everything like you said. So
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm less happy with YouTube over anything else because I know you're a YouTuber primarily, right? Like that's where this is going.
so I'm a YouTuber from a content creation standpoint. I'm a freelance journalist as a day job.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so yeah, then I would say I don't know. YouTube is weird. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but like
YouTube is
especially
good.
when it comes to short form yeah, yes, immediately. It's just
Yeah.
it's not fantastic when it comes to discoverability. I think it's the culture of the platform. It's been
Mm.
around so long and people are very used to certain things and YouTube is trying to go away from those things
Mm.
and trying to get their content creators to do the same thing is a little bit rough. So for example, shorts almost never grow
Yeah.
on YouTube. Meanwhile, on Instagram they go crazy. And so it's it's interesting. Wow, I totally forgot what the original question was.
Unfortunately, I have too much ADHD to remember what the question
This is
was.
great. This is my
I
favorite
think it
interview
was,
so far.
how do you feel about the general direction of everything? Like, are you happy with the direction everything's going?
I'd say so. I think it's slow on some platforms. It's fantastic on others. Twitch grew really fast. As I was just at TwitchCon actually this past weekend,
Mhm.
and I think overall it's a positive direction, and it's almost kind of swept me away with how fast it's been
Mm.
accelerating and things like that. Um, I'm really happy with it. A little concerned for my own free time down the road, but that'll be a problem for future Diana.
Problems for your future self never come back to bite you in the butt. Not at all.
Never.
Is this something you would want to do full time then?
I get that question a lot. If it was sustainable, yes. There's this thing about content creation where people assume that if you go viral once, you're automatically like set for life.
Mm.
You have sponsors and an audience that will follow you to the ends of the earth, and you can do whatever you want to. You can quit your day job immediately, things like that. It's absolutely not the case. Content creation does not make money on its own. It's a very common myth.
Mm.
I've gone viral, I think it's 10 or 11 different times now. At least 10 on TikTok alone. I don't know
Mm.
about the other platforms. And it's all been for different types of videos. It's not even just D&D stuff anymore. And at the end of the day, content has made so little money that I could not sustain myself off of it, even though I'm on Shorts, Reels, YouTube, Twitch, technically Threads, because that does pay a little bit as well. And it's doing all of that at once. It still doesn't really sustain a person. And so most content creators that you see that go off and like do full-time stuff have
Mm.
little side hustles. So in the D&D space, for example, we have a lot of people who are working for Start Playing and doing
Mm.
professional DMing. And they still consider themselves full-time content creators, like part-time DMs or
Yeah.
full-time DMs, things like that. And that's just kind of like the side of it that you don't see. Content creators spend a lot of time doing their, they do podcasts or they write books or they teach classes, things
Yeah.
like that. And that kind of comes with being a full-time content creator. So like I could see it happening, but in order to make that happen, I'd have to throw so much more time into something like Start Playing in order, and
Mm.
I don't know. My day job's cozy. I like it. So
I think there's a lot to be said for a day job which isn't stressful. It's just like
yeah.
a job that you can just sit into, and then it's nice to have like the video output as a more creative, like fulfilling thing for your soul rather than for your bank balance.
Oh, 100%. And it's like one of those things too where it's like if you take your hobby and you make it into your job, it's a very fast track into hating your hobby. And so
I've done this
you
so
gotta
many
be a little
times.
cautious of that. Yeah, yeah, it's rough. It's it sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I did that because I was really into fitness, and I became a personal trainer for 7 years, and
Whoa.
then I became a games journalist, and then now I'm a freelance generalist journalist. But yeah, I've monetized far too many of my hobbies, and it's just like, oh no, I don't know how to relax now.
Yeah, there's a way to do it right, and that usually involves doing a bunch of others, like forcing yourself to make
Yes,
a good schedule and things like that. And personally, I don't have a work-life balance as is. It would get so much worse if I went full time with content. So
I fully
I
respect
don't
that.
know.
I
Maybe
work from home, and then the kids as well, so it's just literally like work. Okay, cool. I've got an evening where I'm not like playing D&D or playing games with friends. Okay, well I'll do some work, and then it
yeah,
gets to the
yep,
weekend. I'm like, instead of work, I'll look after my children.
yeah.
And I love them more than anything, obviously. Not relaxing. Having a 2-year-old running around, like we took him to a supermarket recently, and he spent
Oh,
no less than 10 minutes poking his own cheeks and just shouting the word bear as loud as he could.
bear specifically?
Yep, just bear. as loud as we could. Very, very cute, but like you're walking around and you're like, yeah, I don't know how I ended up here.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. They don't have that here. It's the wrong. We have to go to the, the one down the street. Yeah, poor
Yeah,
thing. I mean, that sounds
exactly.
fun though.
I
Going to
mean,
like, I wish I could
kind of.
remember those early memories of going to things like a grocery store and just seeing. It's like enrichment, I guess. Which,
Yeah, I
again, 4-year degree in
guess.
zoology.
Yes. It's more like this is an easy way to keep the children entertained for a couple of minutes, uh,
Yeah.
which are important. Anyway, that is an aside. Um, would you ever want to write a book or anything with regarding to D&D? Because that's obviously a very common thing within the
Oh.
space. So
Yeah, a supplement? No, because I have no confidence in my ability to do homebrew stuff. However, I would want to at some point take all of the advice that I've given over the years on short
mm,
form, things like how to be a better player, how to be a better DM, just like little tidbits here and there and compile them into a book of some sort. I probably wouldn't sell it, or if I did, I would do it relatively at cost, only
mm,
because all that advice I've already given for free anyway. It would feel
yeah,
weird to sell it.
that
But
makes sense.
something that just puts it all together and is like, I don't know, maybe even like one of those 365-day like calendars, like here's a D&D tip for the day sort of thing, except without using the term D&D so I don't get sued.
Yeah, that's
So,
important. Not being sued is very important. It's very high on my list of things to do. Uh,
yeah, yep.
you alluded, so you said there that you don't really like homebrewing stuff. Is there a reason that because I obviously watching videos as research for this, you mentioned that you much prefer running modules over doing homebrew, and I don't think, at least in the creative space, that's the norm.
It really isn't. A lot of people, and I could see the appeal of homebrew, especially from a perspective of not having to learn someone else's lore. It's easier to just write your own story, have your own lore, and for DM, a lot of DMs, that's easier.
Mm,
For me, I don't have the time, and B, I have I don't know. I feel like I'm still not that creative when it comes to creating a brand new story from
mm,
scratch. So it's for me a lot easier to take home existing modules and modify them in a way. I add more usually gritty realism
mm,
and more horror to my campaigns. I will reskin characters or reskin monsters to make them a little bit different, rename everything so that way if someone's run that specific module before, it at
mm.
least feels different to them. So it's still like a new experience. I add side quests, but that for me is a lot easier having something to work off of.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just don't like my own. I don't believe that I could do any sort of creative writing, including writing a story. And that's really what a module is at the end of the day. So I prefer to take someone else's and just slap a fresh coat of paint on it.
I respect it. That is creative writing, though. I'm just going to point out, if you are
Yeah.
like reflavoring stuff, that is still creative writing.
Yeah, it's microdosing creative writing, I like to think. And that way I don't have to do it, like, for hours on end. It's
It's
already so much work the way I prepare modules. It takes me people ask me to DM for them all the time, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I need 6 months to prepare though, so otherwise I don't feel confident at it." And they're like, "Oh, that doesn't work in our timelines." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I thought." Like, the only reason I haven't DM'd publicly is because people don't plan far enough ahead to accommodate my
right.
insane standards for myself, so
I think asking someone to DM for you is an absurd thing to do anyway, given how much work goes into it.
Yes, I have had friends who are like on a professional level, people are like, "Hey, Diana, do you want to be a guest DM on our podcast?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Maybe, sure, like depends on what you're looking for." And I sit down with them on a call, and usually the answer ends up being no because of either timelines or they do a genre that I'm just not familiar with or something like that. And I'm like, "You should talk to someone else for this instead." But I have also had friends who are like, "Hey, Diana, you do D&D stuff like as it's just your side hustle," and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and they're like, "So I have this friend group," and I'm like, "No, please." Like, I love
Cut.
that you think that this is like I cannot I don't know if you realize what you're asking here. So, but I
Yes.
wanna have more one shots under my belt at some point, so it becomes a little easier down the road for me to I just looked over here because my book full of unused module or my bookshelf full of unused modules is just off to my to my left. At some point down the road, I wanna have more one shots so I can just kinda pick up and run for friends and not have to stress about it as much, but
That
that'll
makes sense.
be if I ever have free time, which based on the size of my link tree, I won't.
No. And you'll just get, I assume each link takes away like a specified amount of free time. So
Everyone represents at least like a couple hours of work that I've put into some podcasts, some videos, something like that. They're all very special to me, very near and dear to my
of
heart, but
course.
I do a lot of stuff. So,
Yep. It's good to be busy.
yeah.
How okay, so work-life balance as well, something that you mentioned. Um How's that?
It's not great. So I was talking to you right before the podcast started about my day job,
Mm,
and I legitimately have like my day job's laptop off to the side because pretty much as soon as we're done here, I've got a nice 3 hour gap where I've got to catch up on that. And then I go and do another, meeting for some other project, and then it's back to my day job to make sure that I'm fitting things in. I will also admit I have OCPD,
mhm,
obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which makes it so that pretty much everything in my life is something on a to-do list that needs to get checked off.
mhm.
So even if I had nothing to do, I don't feel comfortable unless I'm busy working on
Yeah,
something. So if I'm not working, I'll find something to work on.
you'll
Um,
make work.
Essentially, yeah, even if I'm not, if I by some miracle got my entire day job's work done and then had no content to film, nothing to do, no, I would probably sit down and be like, I should make merch and then just start making merch, which I've never done before. I would just find something to be productive. So work-life balance just doesn't exist for me as a default anyway, on a clinical level.
Is that something you're trying to address, or is that something you're just kind of leaning into for now?
Kind of leaning into it. It's kind of the key to my success, honestly. That's why so many people ask me if I'm full-time as they see how much stuff I do and they're like, "Oh, she must be full-time. Like she streams days a
Sorry,
week,
I'm
does
just
like."
trying to get my cat up. Stop being weird.
"Oh, you have a cat?"
I have two.
Oh.
Uh,
Ah.
that particular one is 6 kilograms, which is very heavy for a cat.
Is
Um,
that okay? I was like, I don't know kilograms. Despite
extraordinary.
having
That's like it's 2.2. I can't do maths. It's too late for maths.
I'll look it
Um,
up later
yeah, it's
and just be
fine.
like, "Oh,
He's
wow."
he's he's a real heavy boy. He's nearly a stone,
Oh, which I
basically.
don't know stones either.
Okay, he's like
I'm so
13
sorry.
pounds.
Okay,
Pounds? We can do the
gotcha.
pounds.
Yeah,
The
okay.
third. That was the third.
The
Wait, we had
language
to go.
barrier here is
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, he's this enormous rescue cat, just a giant ball of anxiety and panic attacks, basically. Very, very sweet.
Aw,
Fully
relatable.
thinks I'm his mum.
Oh.
Like fully 100% thinks I'm his mum. The day we brought him home, he stayed in a room with me because we already had another rescue cat,
Mhm.
and he slept on my chest and just spent the entire time just like doing this on me. And I used to have
Oh.
I still got it actually, a jumper, and he'd come and like try and suckle on the buttons, which is very
Oh.
normal. It's very cute,
Yes.
but it's just he's so squeaky and he's so needy. Bless him.
Oh.
Anyway, that interrupted the question. Work-life balance, leaning into it, hustling, keeping
Yes,
busy.
yeah,
Sorry.
basically, a lot of people think I'm full-time. I'm definitely not. I probably should be, but eh, eh.
I mean, your output's pretty consistent, so I'm not surprised that people think that you're full-time.
Yeah, I don't know. I ran into this a lot at TwitchCon is people and every convention really, people are like, "Hey, so when are you going full-time?" And I'm like, I don't think I am. I don't know. Ask me again next year. There's not much to say on that front.
I think it's like you say, people overestimate how much money like creators make.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Uh,
have to sell our souls. And like I
yes.
already do that to some degree. I have done sponsored posts and things like that, but I can maintain a certain level of ethics with
Mm,
it. So, I'm not to the degree where, most full-time content creators are, where they start doing contracts with Raid Shadow Legends and things like that just to make sure that they can pay their bills. With me, it's mostly for fun and it's just like
mm,
a little side bonus. I don't rely on it to make sure that I have food in my fridge. And so I can be a bit more selective about who I take on
mm,
sponsorships with. And so I think that that's something I don't really want to compromise anytime soon for the sake of my audience and also my own sanity.
of course. What was the first sponsorship you took on, and how was that? Like, how did that change anything in your mind about how you viewed it all?
I think the first paid one I took on was, oh gosh, if I remember correctly, it wasn't a direct sponsored post on my channel, but a long time ago, I did a video for Start Playing, which
Mm,
was just me of my own volition being like, yeah, completely unpaid. I was like, "Hey guys, check out this platform. Everyone complains about not having, someone to play D&D with. This kind of fixes that. I just want to make sure you all knew." And it was purely me, like I knew Devin, the owner of the company,
mm,
but we weren't like super close friends. It wasn't like a favor to him. He didn't even know I was making the video. And it did moderately well. And it was a lot of people being like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that this existed." Or like,
mm,
"Oh, hey, I've used this for a while. I love Start Playing." And after a while, Devin comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, the official D&D account is partnering with Start Playing and they want you to do more video." Or wait, no, that was a different one. But he came up to me and he's like, "Can we use your video as an ad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I swear in the middle, so you have to edit that out, but like we can do that." And so he was like, "Okay, like how much do you want for it?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm having a birthday party this weekend, like maybe just some beer money, like $200 or something like that." And he sends me like I don't want to disclose the full
No,
amount,
of
but more
course.
than that. And so he was, and so he was a complete bro about it, and it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is okay to do sponsored stuff as long as it's a cause that I actually care about.
Mm,
If it's a video that I would have made anyway, either
yeah.
for a friend or something that I genuinely enjoy and something that I don't feel like I'm shoving my audience towards. It's stuck with I've stuck with those sorts of policies where it's like promoting something a friend is doing because I genuinely think it's cool, and then making sure I'm not abusing my goodwill with my audience.
Yeah,
So
of course. How do
yeah.
you feel about your relationship with your audience? Like, is it something that you enjoy having, or is it something that you feel is not like a concern that makes it darker than it needs to be, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will sing the praises of my audience to the end of the earth. I brag about them to my other content creator friends in when it's appropriate because they are genuinely so wonderful. I found that, do you know how people say that like their pets reflect who they are? You know, like
Yeah,
you see someone walking around with their dog and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely like a dog and owner duo."
yeah.
I feel like content creators kind of have the same thing where not to compare the audience to like animals or anything,
No, of
but
course not.
over time, you kinda just attract people who are similar to you, and so my audience are all, like, carbon copies of me in the coolest way, where they're all very, like, my Discord is full of people who have, questions about their D&D games, and they're like, "Guys, what's the best way to approach this?" And then people will respond in thread and be like, "Well, here's what I would do, like, I recommend this approach, and then I saw this video one time." And it's very mature, it's very cool. People have the exact same sense of humor as me, so the memes
Nice.
channel in my Discord is all just jokes that I'm actually sitting here laughing at, and my comment section is always so wholesome. It's a surprising lack of people who are just, like, thirsty,
Yes.
and people who genuinely have good commentary on whatever it is that I'm saying, and that's been so wonderful just on a human level as, like, a content creator to not have to be afraid of my own comment
Mm,
section because I know some people are, which is just tragic,
yeah.
especially when they're femmes in the space.
Yes.
They have to be a little bit wary of that sort of thing. And for me, it's been very wholesome. And on the off chance that I get some weird comments over on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, I just delete them. It's no skin off my back, you know?
It's a good way of doing it. It's reassuring because I know the community can be well either
Mhm.
way, right? Like sometimes people luck out and you get wonderful groups of people following you, and other times you get the rest of the people,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
just the whole rest of them.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 um, what what would you consider to be like the next steps or the future of your channel? What are you
Ooh.
aiming to do with it?
I never have a good answer for that. I don't really have any because when I started, it was just like a little hobby, so I never really had any goals in the first place. Mostly what I've been doing nowadays is just saying yes to everything. Someone is like, "Hey, do you want to come to this convention?" Sure. Do you want to join Twitch? Yeah, sure. Why not? Do you want to come interview for this podcast? This guy's gonna roast you about your link trees, and I'm like, "Sure, all right, I'll be there."
Mm-hmm.
So
That was the entire email thread. Was just I need to take the mick out of you for your link tree. Yep, yep,
Yep.
yep.
Mhm. Um, and so I'll just continue doing that, really. I think it would be cool to do more things like the more high level stuff when it comes to the industry side of things. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I did that interview with Jeremy Crawford not
Mm-hmm.
too long ago about the 2024 PHB. If they invite me back to do that for the DMG, oh my God, I would be so excited. But I don't know, that's coming out in what, like a month or two? So if the window passes on that, then I'll
Nice.
be back to just, I don't really have any further plans or anything, I'm just hanging out.
How was that? How was being approached to talk about the PHB with Jeremy Crawford? That's got been
It was solid. It was so much fun, honestly, and that man has more media training than I've ever seen, like, anyone else I've ever personally met in my life. I didn't have to edit anything except for a couple, like, ums and slight pauses in his
Mhm.
sentences, but I would ask a question, and he would just immediately it was as if someone had, like, meticulously scripted it for him, and even my follow-up questions that I hadn't sent to them ahead of
Mhm.
time, he was just so professional about it, and I was like, "Are you just like this? Are you like, are you okay?" Um, because it was so cool, and he was very wonderful to talk to. He's an amazing human being. I thanked him for it afterwards at a Wizards of the Coast party at Gen Con, and I don't know, it was just fun, and he was willing to answer questions that I didn't think that WotC would let him answer.
Mm.
So, for example, I asked, like, "Can you" I know we're here to talk about the player's handbook. "Can you tease anything about the DMG?" And he actually answered and gave me information about magic
Yeah.
item crafting. And I was like, oh man, this is exclusive. This is so cool. I also didn't realize how few creators were asked to do it. And so I felt so special from that front. I think I was the only non like YouTuber who
Mm.
was asked. Um, but it was cool. It was wonderful. The team was fantastic. I mean, the social media side of the team has always been really wonderful
Mm.
to us for the most part.
That's very cool. Is it just you doing the content creation, or do you have like people helping you out with editing and stuff?
It's just me. Everything you guys. That's why it's so low effort. Is it's always just always been me. Just kind of. Thankfully, it's the bar is not very high when it comes to my own short form stuff. It's me just taking my phone and
Mhm.
filming on TikTok, and so I don't have to do too much post production. Usually, videos that I do have to do a lot of production on, like the Crawford interview, for
Mm.
example, actually had editing, and that took me an embarrassing amount of time. I think I was up till 4 in the morning the night before it was, like, due to do it. So that is a little bit to my detriment that I don't have a team or anything. I know I have friends who are editors, so if
Mm.
I wanted to, I could hire them on, but so far I've been I don't know, it's just me.
Very cool. If you ended up going full time, would you consider getting a team then?
Oh, probably not because the OCPD makes it so I have control issues, and I would want to, like, have full
Yeah.
I wanna make sure that the edits fall into my humor and things like that, and I also find it kind of relaxing to do editing because it's something that especially for videos, I can kind of be in a Discord call with my friends while I do it,
Mm.
grab a glass of wine and I don't know, get kinda creative with it, and so I would kind of wanna keep it all, quote, unquote, "in-house."
Mm. Makes sense. I really like editing. My issue with editing is I can't have something on in the background, which is how I do the vast majority of my work, because I have to look
Oh,
at
yeah.
my own stupid face and listen to my own stupid voice.
Yeah, doing, like, a little bit of lo-fi or something,
I
some
have to be like fully locked in to edit
wow.
properly, which is really annoying because everything else I do is with like an anime or a YouTube video or a podcast or one of my
Oh,
children
yeah.
trying to attack me. Um, one of those things is usually a fairly good side distraction.
Right.
um, I need to ask
Oh, boy.
about your freckles.
Oh, man, I just made a post about this, like,
I
last
know.
night.
That's why I want to ask. We
Yeah.
need to address
So
Frecklegate.
oh god, Frecklegate, no. It's so wild because I think it's extremely obvious that
It
they're fake,
is.
and
And
yeah, okay.
I mean no disrespect to that, but my wife is like is incredibly freckly, and it's very clear when someone is or isn't. To
Oh, yeah.
me,
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%, and so whenever but at the same time, I get so many audience members that are like, "Oh my god, I love your freckles. I love that you're not covering them," and I'm like, because I think they especially with people who actually have freckles, there's this thing where, of course, I'm very familiar with this, where the culture was different growing up. They weren't as popular. People usually get bullied for their
yeah.
freckles, at least over here, in the States, and so oh man, I try to make it very clear that mine are fake and that I'm widely appropriating white culture here. But yeah, it's just I think I don't know. It's part of the e-girl aesthetic that I've kind of leaned into in subtle ways. But at the same time, I get so many comments that are like, so I posted a video the other day at the time of recording, basically saying, by the way, the freckles are fake because it was a thirst trap. It was like me before makeup, me after makeup, and they pop in,
Yep.
halfway through the video. And the amount of comments that I got of people being like, "Oh, I had no idea they were fake," and I'm like, "Really? They were like in a very art. They change every video. What do you mean?" Um, so I never know where people lean on that anymore, but
It's shaking your follower base to the core, I think.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually I lost half my following that day. I haven't been able to recover.
This
People
is
just
actually the
can't
last
manage it.
interview you'll ever give because
Yeah,
the
I
freckle
appreciate
thing.
you bringing me
Yeah,
on
no, I know. It's I well, it's always
post-controversy day of the roast.
oh, oh that's got to be the stupid title. God damn it.
No, it has you have my full permission. Holy oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's probably going to be like discussing Frecklegate with Dave.
Yeah. Oh, man. But I they are extremely obvious in real life too, because I wear them day to day, but I have to make them so, since I film my content in TikTok, TikTok has, like, this by default filter, like a
Right.
retouch filter that it has on, and so it wipes away most of the freckles, and so I have to, like, over exaggerate them for TikTok, and so they're, like, dark in normal, like, filming like
Mm.
this or, like, in person, and so I need to figure out a good balance there, but yeah.
Why?
W uh, I don't know, it seems like a little I don't want it to be ridiculous on in person and things like that, like, I don't know.
It's just I don't know. It's just interesting. I say as white dude who puts like the least amount of effort into his face.
If you want me to teach you how to do the freckles, I can.
I think I just like put ink on my wife's ones and then just like rub my face in there or something to get like an ink blot. It'd be fine.
That'd be hilarious.
If I start having freckles, that's what I've done. I will not do that. Do you get much chance? Do you prefer playing or DMing when it comes to D&D? We'll go with that.
Definitely DMing. I get that question a lot. I have a very high standard for myself when it comes to, for myself specifically, when it comes to my own DMing skills. And as a result, I feel, how do I put this in a way that won't be conceited? I don't know if I can.
You can be conceited.
I enjoy my own work.
This is the last interview you'll ever give. It's fine.
That's so true. I'm getting canceled right after this. I'm gonna log off and delete all of my my stuff. Post an apology video. Me in front of like a flat face
With a
camera.
ukulele. You can have
Yeah,
the ukulele. Yeah.
God, I forgot about that.
Have half the freckles on, half of them off, just to make it really obvious that they're not real.
Yeah. A thumbnail that just says "I'm sorry" ... with no further context. Oh, now I have to for the bit. But yeah, I enjoy being a player. And I feel like I can craft really good stories on the player side as well. Like when someone asks me to be even a guest on their show, I will be like, okay, cool. Here's a Spotify playlist, a Pinterest board, a full backstory, my character's like real name, because of course their name is a fake name, and like, different potential plot hooks and leads and potential arcs. I graph it all out for them and I'm like, here you go, here's a nice little package. You can punish me now. And then the DM side of things is like that, but magnified. So it's almost like even when I'm a player, I still dip into the DM side of things where I'm like, here's all the different ways that my story could go. And my DM is like, okay. And I'm like, just trying to be, I don't know. I try to be nice to my DMs as a player, but it reflects how I am as a DM at the end of the day. Cause I like DMing.
It's the control thing again, right? It's the
control. 100% is a control thing.
I respect it. I've noticed that a lot of creators I talk to are neurodivergent in some way, and at least for the ones I know, it's
100%.
so funny because everyone I'm like, yeah, it's weird. I really feel like I'm on the same level of everyone I'm talking to, and I'm like, it's because we're all neurodivergent.
Yeah, the game really it works for us,
I said this when I talked to Ben Byrne as well. I really want to talk to a psychologist about why role-playing games hit like that for neurodivergent people.
I mean, it's become a thing now where, and I've talked to a couple different, so I have a degree in zoology. I also have a minor in psychology. And so I have a pretty big interest in how RPGs can help in a sort of therapeutic level with people, discovering themselves initially, enhancing their own, like, especially at an early age, reading, writing abilities, confronting their own, mental health disorders and kind of managing them through role-playing games. And it's a growing field of research and I'm really excited to see where it goes. This is getting into like the like research nerdy side, but
I'm here for it.
Very much a real thing that people are there's not a whole lot of research on it yet, but people are getting into it more and I want to see where it goes.
I'm fully here for that side of things. I was actually, so before becoming an accountant, I was going to become a psychiatrist. I'd been accepted to university to teach psychology. Yeah. So,
that's so cool.
It's wild that I didn't realize I had ADHD until a couple of years ago, given my career path, and that nobody in my life was like, by the way.
You're like reading all these papers on ADHD and you're like, wow, this sounds familiar. Anyway.
Huh. That can't be about me. I can't read. That's why I homebrew, for the record. I refuse to read a book.
Oh wow, that's gotta be the most relatable thing.
Pure lazy. Well, it's because I write for a living, right? Like I'm always looking at words. I don't want to have to look at words, even though I then end up writing pages of like planning and battles and characters.
And someone else is a dicky.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on the new edition of D&D, if you've had a chance to play or DM at all in it?
Oh, I've heard a lot of complaints. My stance on the new edition is I mean, we only have the player's handbook so far, so it's hard to give like a full big picture view on it. I think the criticism is not unfounded when it comes to things like what they did to the ranger and balance and the changes to counterspell and things like, I know every time I bring it up, someone cries a little bit, but some ranger main out there.
Yeah, there's someone up a tree with a hood on, just like weeping openly.
right? Um, I fully acknowledge that side of it. The thing is, I'm a DM main. I haven't even looked at the class options, to be honest. I've just
Mhm.
heard what other people are saying about it. I haven't covered it myself because I know that other YouTubers and content
Mm.
creators have covered it endlessly. So I was like, they got it sorted. What I like about it though, and the reason I will still push people towards it if they're brand new to the game,
Mm.
is it's so much more user friendly
Mm.
than the 2014 version was. The 2014 version, I don't even tell people to read the handbook. It is impossible to decipher. The organization of it is not
Yep.
fantastic. I talked to Jeremy about this in the interview, and he was like, yeah, we didn't really teach you how to play the game when we did the first handbook. We just tell you about character creation, and then you have to figure it out towards like the appendix. And I'm like, yeah, it's not great. But in this one, they have a new design for the character
Mm.
sheet, like proper step-by-step instructions that make it. I still think you're gonna have to look at like a YouTube video if you're brand new to RPGs on how to
Yes.
make the character. I don't think we're gonna ever avoid that, but they made it easier to understand. And I want people to get into the game still, despite all the controversies, despite everything that's happened.
Yep.
At its core, D&D is helpful. It's therapeutic. It's fun. It's a social activity. It scratches the creative itch in your brain. And so as a tool for people to kind of explore that part of themselves, I want them to play D&D. And something like this that makes it easier for them to
Mm.
do that is 100% fantastic in my book. And also from the DM side of things, there are little blurbs here and there that are just like every DM would read like one of those little sidebars that's
Yeah.
like, hey, here's what a session 0 is. And we're like, oh my God, yes, finally. Or something that's
They did
like,
it. They did it.
there's legit a section that's like advising players to, if they're a spellcaster, know what their spells do. And it's like
Yes.
2 sentences. And we're over here like, oh my God, finally someone said it. So there's so much stuff where we're like, oh my God, this has been made official. That's just quality of life
Mm.
things on the DM side that I don't know. I think it's good for people who are starting and trying to get into the game for the first time. I think it's a way better starting point than the 2014 version.
No, I fully agree.
Yeah.
Quick fix for the ranger issue, at least in the games I'm DMing at the moment, is to just remove concentration from hunter's mark, and it
Mm,
fixes a lot of the issues. I still don't think
heard.
the capstone ability is great, but it makes it a lot more bearable.
Yeah, right? I mean, you can still homebrew the 2024 version. No one's stopping you guys.
You
People
can
have been doing it.
homebrew everything.
Yeah,
Rules are for nerds.
exactly.
But I think that's all of the main questions. We kind of whizzed through those, which is always nice.
Oh,
Um,
wild. Cool.
is there anything apart from your ridiculous link tree that you want to plug at all?
Ooh. Nowadays I've mostly been I don't have any active APs. When is this episode coming out?
This will come out on the 10th of October.
Okay. In that case, I don't know if I can announce anything yet. So the next thing that I'm going to be at by the time this comes out will be PAX Unplugged. It's kind of
Okay.
like the second biggest tabletop con of the year. So that's over in Philadelphia, where I will be hopefully running a panel on how to be a better DM. It's kind of like a full-on DMing 101 style panel. It's been waitlisted right now, but I have full confidence. And we're gonna hard cut in December where where the panel gets completely rejected. I'm like never invited to another PAX again. Like
Well, you're gonna get cancelled because of the freckle thing, and
that's so
then
true.
yeah,
They
yeah,
won't
yeah.
want me there. I'm gonna get escorted off the
I'll have to
premises.
take the video down off my channel.
um, but if all goes well and that gets off the wait list, I will be having a panel called, oh my gosh, I think it's From Zero to Hero, the ultimate game masterclass. You have to do a funny title or else they'll just absolutely
Yeah,
reject
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But if that goes through, I'll be there. If not, I'll be wandering the premises until they kick me out. So if you see me, come say hello. And then beyond that, I won't be at any more conventions until March, which is when I'm going to be at PAX East. So beyond that, I don't have anything I believe I'm allowed to announce quite yet, but you can just find me absolutely everywhere as Diane of the Rose.
I will put links to some of the channels in the description, undoubtedly.
A lot of them.
And then we have the goodbye, which was coined by one Antonio D'Amico, which is where we just stare at the camera and wave a little bit awkwardly. It's great.
Oh, I love that. I do that all the time.
Wonderful,
great.
because it's the only way I know how to end a video. Ready?
Great. Yeah.
Warmed up? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All set.
Oh, thank you for coming on as well. I think
Oh, yeah.
that's important. I should do
Thank
that.
you. Thanks for
I'll
having
say,
me.
okay, I haven't said this in all the videos. I always say it after, even if I don't say it on the video. It doesn't cut, and then I immediately leave the call, although I did that yesterday. And then had to rejoin
Oh,
the call, and I was like, I'm so sorry! But me being unable to use a computer aside, despite doing it for a living. Right, yes, awkward wave at camera. Ready?
Got it.
Cool. Right. Bye.